Hello once again, and welcome back to Sound Dialogues. My name is Tanya Lessig, and this is my project about languages, learning them and teaching them. And please welcome my today's guest. It's Mark. Mark, thank you so much for agreeing to join my chat today. Really happy to have you here. So if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, Tanya, thank you so much for the invitation. This is really exciting. This is really fun. I just love your podcast, so I'm glad to be on it now. This is so
Thank
cool. Hey, thanks. Like I said, my name is Mark Allen Klenk, and I'm an American living in Austria who does a lot of work in Ukraine on occasion, or a lot of work occasionally. So, I do what I can, and I just love languages. So that's why I became a writer and am working on becoming a public speaker. I just had an international mental health awareness webinar, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and there was almost 200 people there. So it was really exciting. Yeah, so that's just kind of a brief, that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. Thank you so much. Really glad to, that you made it today. Um, Tell me about yourself. In terms of English, how much, like you living in Austria right now, how much do you have to use it right now? Is it still the bigger part of your life?
Well, it's become again a large part of my life. Basically, I um, stopped speaking English for like 10 years or something because I was completely in the German speaking realm,
Hmm.
working in German, relationship was in German, all of these things up and running in German. I couldn't even go to the grocery store without German. So I was German, or Austrian. And since about the last 5 years, I would say, my through my job, my day job, and through other international relationships, I've had to use English more and more each day. And I, since I am a writer, I'm writing in English and in German. So now I just finished my German novel, and now I'm continuing on with an English novel just to
Hmm.
kind of keep the balance,
Yeah.
you know. So English is actually everywhere at the moment for me again,
Okay.
but I try to keep a healthy balance between English and German that I don't forget either one. So
If you remember this moment when you actually dived into German, how did you feel? Did you started from zero, right?
oh, I did. I didn't even know how to order beer, and that was really scary.
The worst part.
So I think they told me I was technically too old to learn a language,
Age
which,
difference,
well,
talking.
no, and you're never too old to learn language. I mean, God, I'm
Exactly.
still learning.
You are never too old to learn how to paint as well. This is a proven fact, by the way.
That's true. Look at both of our rooms. We got paintings everywhere.
Yes.
We're still young and dynamic. That's okay.
Yeah.
No, I remember when I came over and I just was totally lost. I just had no idea how to speak German. I couldn't even speak English properly. And all of a sudden I'm trying to learn this new language, you know, and um I know people are like, "Oh, you learn so quickly." Theoretically, yes. Because when I went to the Austrian university and I went after I started learning German 6 months, I went to the university and I said, I would like to take a German course. And they said, why? I said, well, because it's your job and I need to learn. They said,
Yeah.
but you're speaking to us already. And I said, well, that's because I've been working very hard the last
Yeah.
months, and I just don't give up. But if you see me write, you'll know that I need the course.
Yeah. And it's not enough. Yeah.
Oh, no, you really have to invest, you know.
So it's a
And I,
continuous process and it has to last, well, at least for some period of time for you to get it to a level where you can actually have a variety of options around you if you're in the German speaking society.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And the Germans, the Austrians and the Germans are not merciful.
Mhm.
So if you make a mistake, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, they're quite direct, right?
Oh yeah, very. You know, it's like in America, if you say, hello, my name is, they're like, oh my God, they speak wonderfully. This is brilliant, you know? So it's like, okay, there's a slight difference. But I overcame a lot of hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am actually leading one of the larger committees at the Austrian Pen Club, which is a writing association
Oh.
for German-speaking writers. So my German must not be that bad.
Wow. What were your biggest difficulties when learning German? I know of one, if you could mention that one and maybe something else.
I'll start with the other one first. My biggest hurdle learning German was English
It was in your way, right?
because it was terribly in my way. Because when I started learning German, I realized I didn't even know English
Ah, I
because
see.
I spoke a dialect like a farmer in
Mm-hmm.
from the middle of nowhere, you know? So I realized I had to learn what they call high English, so this international English,
Yeah.
because otherwise I couldn't start translating in my head because I was translating from slang to slang.
Uh-huh. You needed
And
to fix
everyone,
grammar perhaps first, right?
I needed grammar, I needed proper English. I just needed to start speaking more like out of the books and less
Yeah.
like out of the ebonics or out of the ghetto. So I really took time also to, even I loved reading back then also, but now I was trying to live out what I had learned and to speak proper English, which helped me to start thinking correctly, that I could organize my German in my
Mm-hmm.
head. And then it started to come out like a written, you
Yeah.
know?
So it really helps me, brings me to the thought, to the understanding that in order to learn a foreign language, you really have to sort out your mother tongue in the first place. And if people learning another language are complaining, oh, I cannot express my thoughts in this foreign language, but go back to your mother tongue. Are you okay expressing your thoughts in your mother tongue? How expanded is your vocabulary? How nice, like how are you talking in your mother tongue? So yeah, it's a really, really good idea. I also like on the parallel line, I meet people who say like, oh, we're really bad at speaking English. And then I take them back to their mother tongue and I say, but are you an introvert in your mother tongue? Maybe you don't like speaking in your mother tongue as well. And they go, oh, yes, you're right. So why do you want to force yourself to speak in another language if you're a quiet person in your mother tongue? So that's a really, really nice thought over here. And probably, I hope it will help lots of people realizing maybe, their understanding of how their view on their own language, on their mother tongue, on L1 should change perhaps. Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really that way. But I think the other point that you wanted me to get to is
yes.
really emphasizing where the people said you're too old to learn the
Hmm.
language. And
Hmm.
I think they meant more you're too old to get a proper pronunciation of the language.
Hmm.
And I have to admit, I sounded very American speaking German. I mean, I still do. It comes out, and people are like, "Are you from Holland?" I'm like, "No, I'm not Dutch." But that's a compliment. Thank you. You know,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
but I could not get like the O with the double points at the top,
yeah,
what they call the umlaut. So
yeah,
this, and my friend was helping me. So we would like, I was in Germany learning German. Like I would learn like 12 hours a day. Thank God I had this possibility. Just reading and studying. And in the evenings, I would go for the walk with Jens and I would say, he says, tell me about your day. What did you learn? And it was like 2 weeks after starting, and I'm like, eh. He's like, no, oh my God, no, 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 And he told me later, he says, I swear to God, you would never lose this accent. It was so terrible. But I didn't give up and never give up, And I know that when I really want something, I won't stop, even if it kills me. And I think this almost killed me. And now, as you know, Tanya, I'm learning Ukrainian.
yes.
And I started off teaching myself Ukrainian, and now I realize, oh, this is not necessarily always good because I'm assuming I'm pronouncing things correctly. And then people are like, what did you say? And I write it down like, oh no, that's not that. So and there's certain tones that my German, Austrian, American mouth that not does not get out. So it sounds like French or Spanish
Yeah.
somehow in the end. And like, no, we're Ukraine. It's not. but I'm not giving up.
This is so nice to hear. The persistence is something that any language probably needs. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I had students with higher levels and higher abilities of listening to the language and repeating and reproducing what they hear, but less ability, less wish to work, less persistency, and other students with less language learning abilities, let's say this way, but more persistence, they were more stubborn and not willing to give up, and they were repeating and they were drilling and just doing things on a longer time scale, and they succeeded more. So as we say, talent is not enough. We need to work to achieve something. Again, talking about languages and talking about sounding Ukrainian or not, and you having the different accents, what other professions and what other nationalities do you work with most often right now? And if you meet people of other nationalities, what's the trickiest part when it comes to listening to their English or to their German and to poor pronunciation?
I think pride comes before the fall. Because I get a lot of people, I'm working very international. So I've got really all countries. I've got like literally the whole globe that I meet almost daily somehow, either online or in different congresses or wherever. And the key thing is like, I think if they think they know it all and they just assume this is the way I'm talking and it's right,
And
and
live
it's
with
just,
it, yeah. Deal
and
with
it's
it.
just like,
No
no
problem. Yeah.
idea. Yeah, I'm just like, what? Um, and I think that's, I mean, I can't change them at that moment. I'm also not going to comment on it, of course. But I think it's just a general concept of this blocking yourself and saying, I know it all,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, where can I still learn? This growth mentality,
Mm-hmm.
So where can I grow in a language? I'm never going to stop learning German, and I haven't even stopped learning English. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still learning,
Yeah.
and I have to Google things, I have to research things, I have to study this. And it's language is alive.
Exactly.
It's still growing. It doesn't stop.
Exactly.
So in German, we get like this, they add like 200 words a year to the dictionary, and
Yeah.
it's not an exciting language in that sense. It's just a bunch of blocks. It's like Legos.
Yeah. True. Absolutely agree with you on this one. Language is changing, and we cannot use the phrase, I have studied the language, I know everything. So it's impossible to say. I also you still keep learning, and what I learned 20 years ago is actually different from what I know now, and from what the language looks like at the moment as well. In phonetics, in English phonetics, we also have changes, and some sounds that had been used 25 years ago are have changed now, and I'm now teaching my students at my pronunciation course that we are pronouncing tour, the word tour, in two ways. It's correct to say tour the new way or tour with the diphthong, and it's nice to know these things, but it's also nice to understand that language is not standing, and it's developing, it's evolving, and it's okay to go along with it, and it's okay to
Yes.
keep learning. And I always suggest to my students that if you feel tired of learning constantly all the time, then take a break. Give yourself a break. So don't be too harsh on yourselves. A lot of phoneticians now especially the native speakers, because they had been so harsh on us non-native speakers in terms of pronunciation perfection, they're like, you must sound like a native speaker and not less than that.
Yes.
Now they're saying, no, 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 guys, no harsh feelings, like, please, no pressure on you. So speak the way you feel like it. But we really need to stick to the golden middle, because we don't need to sound with, to preserve our mother tongue accent, and for people not being able to even understand what we're saying, because we think, oh, like, I'm Ukrainian, like, you have to deal with my pronunciation. You figure out what I said. I've gone through the course. Or neither we have to sound perfect. So it has to be the golden middle. People need to understand us.
Yes.
If we still have some kind of an accent, it's okay. We can survive. But as long as we understand each other, we have the communication, perfect. Yeah,
But there's not a single person in the world that doesn't have an accent.
exactly. Even
So
if,
I have a perfect English, but it's an American accent. Other
yeah,
people have perfect English, they have a British accent.
yes,
And other people just have an accent where you just go, I don't know where that's from, but it's cute, you
Yes,
know?
and as long as it's understandable, as long as we understand what we're talking about, and there is an agreement between us, why not? Yeah. Um, Talking about accents, is there an accent you find the hardest to deal with in terms of understanding?
British?
English?
No. Can I tell the story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Love
I
story.
was I was working for the emergency services in Austria and for the international help assistance, and I had a case in Cork. And all my Austrians were like, Mark, help me. So I was like a cowboy, I just came over, give me
Yeah.
the phone. It's fine, you know. I called this place, and this is, I have to say, it was a scrapyard. And scrapyard people don't speak high English at all, so they speak the local dialect. And this guy was talking on the phone. I was like, pardon? 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 I have an idea. I'll call you back. And that and I went over to the British guy and I said, Paul, I need your help. He goes, an American needs my help. And I said, Paul, please, it's in Cork, and I don't have an idea what he's talking about. So he went over to the phone like a cowboy, and he called, and all I heard was, pardon? Pardon? And then he came back and says, you win. I had no idea what he said. Let's send him a fax.
Sounds like
So
a fail, yeah.
maybe the West Irish is like the hardest, or South Africa.
Really? I used to
Yeah,
cook with South Africans. I probably maybe that's why I understand their accent because I started even picking it up myself. I started saying yes and things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I had some problems calling with the hospitals even.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay, this is going to be difficult. And
Can you
usually I'm
say
pretty flexible.
lower, please? Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
can we do English?
So I think it will be really a relief for our viewers to understand that it's if they're non-native speakers, if you guys are non-native speakers, it's not only your problem understanding the native speakers.
We
So
all have it.
yeah.
That's
My,
because we're regional. We're regional.
you have been to Ukraine, right? So
Yes,
much
twice.
that good. If we go to the Carpathians, there are areas where I wouldn't be able to understand the Ukrainian language. So guys, take it easy on yourselves. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on to the next question. If we can have a little bit of a short discussion about the kids and multilingualism. So, could you share a little bit about that? Your experience, your personal experience.
So in my personal experience is a little bit frustrating, so which might be a motivation for some people because you will know you're not alone. But there's so much hope behind this thing also. So for me, it was one way it was difficult to speak English with the kids because I was so working hard on learning German. I thought if I spoke English all day at home, I would lose it, you know? So it was a little bit of a mix. But what I found out was kids are really flexible and they learn so quickly. So take every opportunity you find. You know, if it's like, let's watch a movie together, which is actually one of the best things because they hear it.
Yeah.
Um, and also, for example, just reading books to the kids. Because then, like, I read this to my 8-year-old and I read him a book in English. Like, we read Narnia. That's not easy. It's like, it's like really hard. Sometimes I'm like, what is that word? You know? And we were reading this and he would just stop on occasion and goes, what's that mean? And I would try to explain it, you know, and to keep the explanation in English unless I knew the German, then he had this bridge, you know. So
Uh-huh.
then, but just to be consequent, just to always do something with them somehow playful,
Yeah.
you know, because then they really grow. So like my son, when he talks to his grandparents, you know, he understands everything. He doesn't like to talk to them in English.
Uh-huh.
He tells me in German what to tell them in English, but he's answering what they said.
Yeah, so he understands, but just doesn't want to talk. But he has
Doesn't
a very good back. Like they are. I like the comparison of the kids. I don't know, ability to perceive everything as the sponge. So, I get questions from the young parents. What age should I start teaching them more languages than just our mother tongue? And I tend to respond like. any time, they will be hearing you or the language, and they will be absorbing it like a sponge. And even if you don't go for the, I don't know, heavier studies, say when they're 2, 3, kindergarten age, and so on, later on in their lives, they will have this subconscious background of the language they had heard at some point in their early ages, and they will, there will be a nice soil for the language to be blooming later on. So this is what I did with my kids. With my eldest one, I used to sing a lot of songs to her, both in Ukrainian
Yes.
and in English. You would laugh.
Yes.
I would sing AC/DC to her.
Yeah. All right.
Remember this? Yeah, the German lullaby. Have you seen this video where a lady, a German comic woman, I don't remember her name, and she sings the fire starter to her child to fall asleep?
Oh,
This
really?
it's very close to what I did. Seriously, this was hilarious. But she loved the songs. But then, when she was around two-ish, she
Yeah.
started to understand that this is a different language. So she started
Yes.
differentiating, and she started saying, "Mommy, I don't want yes, I don't want no." So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I had to stop, but then they moved to a kindergarten where they had, apart from Ukrainian, English, German, and French as well, and they had lovely teachers. Even if it was fun, just the basic things, what do you call the flower, the table, everything you see around, the minimal constructions, they were absorbing it. So it was in there, and now she's quite all right with the language. She studies now in English. And my youngest one, with her case, I really am proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
At some point, she wanted to watch some series, some cartoons, but because at that time we still didn't have them dubbed into Ukrainian, but only in
Okay.
Russian. And I said, nothing in this language. So if you want to
Mm.
watch this cartoon, look for it in the original, which was usually in English. And she speaks fluently now. So it
Exactly.
you
Trick
know,
'em.
yeah, availability. So she's watched all the Friends, she's watched everything, and she's 12 and she's teaching me things. She's te
Yes.
explaining to me, I don't know what ASMR is, other phrases. And I go, whoa, thank you. I will
Yeah.
write it down. Thank you. So yeah,
I
we can
I
create.
can just confirm you. This
Yeah,
is really, I was singing to my kids in English. I did the lullabies,
yeah,
trying to remember everything I could from my own childhood. Because if I wasn't going to talk to them, I could at least sing to them or read them something, you
yes.
know? Or as I tell my son also, I say, before you watch something stupid in German, would you please watch something stupid in English?
Yeah, at least you can hear it. Yeah, and some progress
Yeah. So
happen.
he does that. He watches a half an hour of something in English where I'm like, okay, but he's hearing, he's laughing, he's
Yeah,
enjoying it, you
yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah. True, true.
And I also had the situation that all of my kids around kindergarten, they said, I don't want to speak English anymore. I don't want anything, just German. And I was like, no, my work is gone, you know. And then all the kindergartens in Austria, they offer English courses
Ooh,
for kids, you know, so learning words. So I said, well, he already knows English. Well, let's put him there anyways,
yeah.
because he'll see how cool it is.
Yes. And
It's,
he will be better than everybody else, most probably.
yeah.
And he
So
will
it
also
became
get
fun
this
again.
basics, the grammar and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it became fun again, because that's the thing. If you want to teach kids English or anything, it has to be fun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being fun because that's how we learn it the best. It
Yeah.
sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. I agree. Couldn't agree more with you. Okay.
Yeah. And
Um,
I know from my older kids, I just wanted to say as a confirmation, I mean, now with my youngest son, I can't prove that it's working.
yeah. Not yet.
With my older kids, um, I was speaking some English and listening to the songs and doing these things. And then there was a long gap of no English. And like you said, it's hibernating, it's in there.
Yeah.
And they both, like when my mom came over a few years ago, they just both spoke perfect English all of a sudden. I was just like, what happened? Where'd you guys learn that? Why
But
didn't you
that
teach
was
me?
you're
Yeah.
working with them at earlier stages. Yes.
And it was perfect. My daughter, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. My English is so terrible. I've just had such a bad day and didn't have my coffee. I'm like, dude, here you
Who's
go.
here? Yeah.
Yeah. You have no idea, you know?
So it's all in there. So keep working. Don't give up. Yeah. Cool. Um,
Exactly.
moving on to the next question, and it's going to be one of the final ones for today.
Okay.
Um, it's an important one about public speaking. I know you
Oh,
have
yes.
something special to share because you are pro in here. So have you done any public speaking? is it easy, difficult for you? If you remember your first time you ever had to appear in front of a large audience, have you spoken in different languages? So if you have an experience, what was worse, speaking in your mother tongue, in English, or in a foreign language? And I'm also like, in the end, if you could mention tomorrow a little bit.
Okay. Good, good, good. So, um, yeah, I started public speaking when I was like 17, 18.
Ooh,
Yeah, I was working with youth as a youth and was leading events with like 300 people.
oh, cool. Great
Yeah, and
practice. Yeah.
yeah, it was great practice. And I was asked also from the larger organization to stand on the stage and do some comic stuff when in front of 1,000 people
Wow.
when I was like 19 or something. And so it started then, of course. But even now, like I said, I had to relearn English.
Mhm.
And I noticed it's better to be understood than to be right.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the pronunciation, maybe I have my way of how I want to say it or how it's properly said.
Yep.
But if nobody understands the word, what's it going to bring to anybody?
Yeah.
You know, or I can use a highly complicated word just to show people how smart I am.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what's that? I have no idea. Okay, let's just listen anyways. So it's better just to leave it simple and leave it clear and to be understood than to be overly smart and correct,
Mhm.
you know. And I even have I had about 8 seminars that I've led since September now,
Mhm.
and events and seminars, and in English and in German. And for both languages, I've had a uh, similar to what you're doing. It's this speaking technique
Yep.
for articulation and for like theatrical dynamic on stage to make myself better.
Mhm.
You know, I'm already doing events with thousands of people,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean I don't have room to learn.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yep.
who am I to think that I've got it?
Yeah.
As soon as you stop growing, you're dead.
True.
It
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
We're living creatures, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's your mind or your body. Only things that grow are living.
True, true. This is something that I also teach my students, those who come for pronunciation to me, that learning pronunciation is working with your muscles and muscle memory. It's like going to the gym for your mouth. So if you keep on working regularly, it's fit. But if you pause or don't do it for a certain period of time, what happens to your muscles? They go loose. They stop being fit. They stop being, I don't know, uptight. So
Yeah,
really like you step back a little bit, and it's okay if you need a break, but in order to be fit, yeah, to with your tongue, with your lips, with your foreign language abilities in pronunciation, you really
yeah,
have to keep on working on a regular basis. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think you can compare public speaking with like a someone who's like a working in the Olympics as a sport person. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's so many aspects that really need to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have to know your tools. You have to have your tools sharp and ready to be used, you know. So I have to know what I'm talking about. I have to be able to articulate what I'm talking about, that the message arrives to the people. I also have to overcome my own psychological hurdles
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, I'm actually an introvert, which a lot of people don't know. Because
Yeah,
it's like,
we
I'll probably
couldn't
go lick
help.
my wounds after this podcast. But but no, to be real, it's like the anxieties or the fears or the own personal insecurities that can arise when you're on stage or talking to even smaller groups really can block us.
Yeah.
No, when I was started doing speaking in German, especially with the Germans who are very strict,
Yeah,
God, don't make a mistake. So the whole time I'm thinking, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake. So what happens?
you
You
do.
make the mistake.
Yeah.
Then you start clamming up, and then you get even more quiet. Then you can't articulate. Instead of just saying, you know what? I want to be a kid. I'm just going to be free and have fun right here.
Yeah.
I've got my tools ready. I've got everything prepared. Now I'm just going to let go and make sure the message arrives, you
Hmm.
know? So I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
you know.
But in order to be able to deliver great speeches in another language, so and not be afraid to make a mistake, would you just need to really know your stuff well?
Preparation is
Yeah.
really 80 to 90% of the thing.
Mhm.
They, when you learn about public speaking, also, it doesn't matter in which language, they actually say, even if you don't read it, because you shouldn't read a script on
Yeah.
stage unless you really have to, um, you should write it anyways.
Yeah.
That you get a feel, what am I talking about? What am I doing? What should I say? Or in your PowerPoint, you make as many notes as you can to prepare for this.
Mhm.
I'm a spontaneous talker. I can do it for hours, as you know. And
As a true introvert, yeah.
and but I realized also in the last year when I'm doing more and more public speaking, even if the people say, "Hey, great job, that was really good," I'm not happy. I'm just not happy. And I said, "Oh, that was so lousy." And my partner's like, "Why was that lousy?" And I said, "Because I know me. I could have prepared much more."
Mm-hmm.
So what quality, what dynamic do I want to give? And this comes the filter, the funnel we have to get this message out is the language.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes through the articulation, it comes through the dynamic, it comes through exactly that, what you're talking about here in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why it's so important, because it's 1,000 things in my head in the background and information. But if I don't get it out properly, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how smart my presentation is, it
Yeah.
won't land.
Yeah, true. And it's also the message that we're trying to deliver as well that matters because we can give a lot of, things that are around and about, but nothing very specific in particular, like tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm nervous again.
No, you're not.
No,
I'm
no.
sure.
We, I do different types of events. I do, like I said, I just had this huge international mental training, mental health awareness training that I led. I do human rights events. I do charities for Ukraine. So I've led many different projects and things. Tomorrow is kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
Um, it's just art. It's just art. So we have a Baroque harp and we have a flute and a lady that's singing, and then I read lyric. And it's this really fun mix that we're offering people. And my partner, she's a painter, and she'll be doing live painting on a big screen.
Um,
So it's going to be this huge multimedia kind of thing in a small room, kind of
mhm.
fun and cuddly. And from my section, not only do I want to come across with good lyrics, so I have to learn to articulate my English and my German stuff very well because with the harp,
Yeah.
even the harp thing, you think a harp is a nice soft little instrument. It's not. When you're standing next to it, it's like ping, it's
Oh,
like I'm saying something. And try to say that nice and romantic and slow and poetic, screaming over the harp. And now I made myself the challenge. Um, I wrote a poem in Ukrainian and I wrote a poem in Spanish.
wow.
And I've had you help me double check my Ukrainian stuff and prepare my mouth to pronounce it understandable.
Yeah.
I'm going to relax. It's going to be understood.
Yeah.
It's a nice, short, beautiful piece about peace and about hope and about love and exactly that which we wish for Ukraine. So,
Oh.
and I will have Ukrainians in the audience, and I want to surprise them with this piece of just, you guys are important, you
True.
know?
Trust me, you will surprise them. And the poem is beautiful. And your pronunciation is great. And I'm actually saying this with, my full responsibility. With your persistence, how you work on languages, I have no doubts you'll get there
Yeah.
eventually.
Well,
Yes.
you've seen how I've grown just in this one poem.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
used this I don't use it as a poem where I'm like, help me. It's like it's a tool to learn the language because now I've got examples where I can learn about the emphasis, I can learn about how the words combine, what is hard, what is soft. And it's just like this whole learning process. I'm like, wow, just to take time. And I think this is what we need to know about learning languages or teaching languages is not to just how much material can I get in
Yeah.
because my
We've been
brain's going to
to
start forgetting something anyways. but to really take time and say, let's concentrate on a one piece. What can we refine? What can we polish? What can we do? And I would say except for that one word, which you know which word I'm talking about, except for that one word, I had problems with the other words too, but I don't anymore because we walk through it.
Yep.
So it's like a whole poem except for one word where I'm thinking, "Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Why should I worry about that one word? I'm going to find a solution." And I'm just like the in German, I'm going to do this thing 100 times a day until I get it, and then you're not going to get rid of it.
Yeah. Later on when you need something else to learn. True, true. I'm absolutely sure you'll get there with your persistency. Yeah, absolutely. So good luck to you for tomorrow.
Thank you.
One more question and finalizing our chat.
Yes.
Going back a little bit to the public speaking, maybe I'll share some, because I'm preparing for one myself and it's going to be quite huge for me. So the
Okay.
recommendations I know there are, and I will be using in my practice, to record before you have a public speech, a presentation to make, record yourself just a video and
Mhm.
have a look at what you're doing with your hands. So what
Yes.
gestures do you have? That's one thing. And then record only an audio, like a video, but just listen to how you say things, analyze them, and then redo things that you want to hear or see differently. What would your recommendations be if people want to practice public speaking skills and they want to feel at ease in front of other people? We have a lot of mm, introverts as well. I know
Yeah.
of. So how to overcome this? Maybe you have a couple of your personal tricks.
Well, like you said, it's really in the preparation. A lot of it's in the preparation. So some people do their dry run in front of a mirror so that they can watch their mimic.
Yep.
Because it's not only just about my hands. Where are my hands
Yeah, yeah.
flapping? Am I a butterfly flying off, or am I like, what
Yeah.
am I doing? I don't
Or
want
not,
to talk.
or you're
I'm like
stiff.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking about happiness today. Or today's relaxation techniques will be guided by me, you know. So it's like what you need to see your dynamic because we don't see ourselves at all. And it's a really an awkward, very awkward situation the first few times you do this to record yourself or to stand in front of a mirror and to think, what am I doing here? But it's really it does bring something. And then also the dry runs with someone who will listen to you and just
Hmm.
and give you honest feedback,
Yeah.
where they say, "Good job, but I had no idea what you were talking about there," because we think we're in our own world,
Yeah.
and we try to pass on this world to the next. And even if we both spoke, this is one of the statistics I love the most. If we both grew up at the same time as neighbors in the same village, theoretically, we should understand each other 100%.
Hmm.
But because even in this relation, we understand each other about like 60% of that which we know lands. They're understanding only about 60% of what their neighbors are saying. But as
Hmm.
soon as you come from another culture, have a different language, have a different city, he's a farmer, he's a big city guy.
Yeah.
Only about, this is embarrassing, but only about 30 or 40% of your verbal message lands. The
Yeah.
rest is then body language and PowerPoint. So, um, and this is why we really need to concentrate on our articulation and the preparation for this stuff. Um, the other tip I wanted to give is, I think it's really about going on stage or starting the webinar. You know, we're all scared, and it doesn't matter if we've done this here 100 times or not. We're nervous.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite tricks at the moment is shaking because it's like the dogs, they get this nervous shaking,
Yeah.
and within seconds your body just kind of goes, oh thanks, I got the energy gone.
Hmm.
Or I like to tease my audience when I get on stage. Like at the last event, it was like, here's me, Mark, and all the rest were like 80-year-old conservative Austrians from the first district. Culture clash completely,
Yeah.
you know? And I just looked at them all and I took the microphone and I said, are you guys as nervous as I am?
Ah.
And then they kind of giggled, I was like, all right, but it was gone.
Yeah.
So I think the key thing is either to admit it to yourself or even just because this fear does not last more than 30 seconds.
Hmm.
Even if unless you start hyper reflecting and then you're gonna like fall on stage and pass out or something.
Hmm.
That's another story.
Yeah. But that really also depend pretty much on the topic you're about to talk about, right? Because if you,
Oh,
no, but what I mean, like if you're starting, if you then start talking about something really important or grievy or,
why
um,
can't humor be in every talk?
huh? Well, I mean, like, yeah, I understand. I get what you mean, but it's just I'm thinking I'm projecting to my speech that
Well,
I'm
it has to
thinking.
fit to the audience. It has to fit to these things
Yeah,
also.
yeah. So again, there has to be a balance. If you're about to talk about something really serious or tragic, then don't make a like silly joke about it or something. Yeah, like there has to be.
No, but it's okay to comment because
Uh-huh.
at the very beginning, just because you have to warm up, and
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I noticed this was what my articulation teacher told me also. She says, your name is too short. Mark Klenk. And then by the time I say it, it's already gone. And they're like, what? Who is he? What? Forget it. So she says, my name is, or good
and
evening,
pause. Yeah,
and then wait as if they were going to answer you, but they don't have to.
yeah,
Give this little pause, and then you say, my name is Mark Allen Klenk, and I'm glad to be here this evening. I might look a little nervous, that's because I am, but it's going to be gone in a second. Let's talk about this subject. So that's whatever I can do just to push this nervousness aside. And it only works when you start in motion.
yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Because you can't steer a car that's not moving.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
Well,
parts. You just turn the thing as much as you want. It doesn't do anything. But
yeah.
if it starts moving, you can just turn it in the right direction and you're fine.
I really like this comparison. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today, for coming here, for giving so many thoughtful insights, and for your energy, and for you being an introvert, still stepping in and being so active and so open. And I'm wishing you all the good luck for tomorrow. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine with this, with these abilities. Come on, I have no doubts about this.
Well, it
Perhaps
happens.
Yes, thank you so much once again. And guys, please follow the channel. Please hit the like button and leave a comment if you'd like to ask us a couple of questions, perhaps maybe me or Mark, or maybe you have an idea of what else we're gonna talk about the next time in our next chat. So thank you once again, Mark, for joining us today. You guys, thanks for watching and stay with us for the next interesting conversations. Thank you.